you want to learn is marketing before your weekend, right? So I'm going to go ahead and hit record. We're going to go every 2 to 3 episodes or so. We'll stop and answer questions. Wherever you're asking questions, we should be able to see you. We might not be able to respond to you directly on, let's say, LinkedIn or directly, but we can see your questions. If you're on the webinar, obviously, we're going to answer your questions as well. We might even bring you live as well. So share this with people too. If you want to share the love, share this with everyone. Share this on whatever channel you're coming from. And we are here to rock. So I'm going to hit record and we are off to the first one. Here we go. And here we go. Welcome to another episode of Marketing School. I'm Eric Su.
And I'm Neil Patel.
And today we are going to talk about why you should diversify your revenue. So let's think about this, Neil. When you first started your first business, ACS, right? Or when you started selling CDs, how did you think about your different revenue sources? And when did you think about diversifying? Let's start there.
I didn't think of different revenue sources at that young of an age. But what I realized is just having all your revenue coming from one thing, especially when it's seasonal or it could go up or down, or you may have one or two customers, whatever the reason may be, is your income can get hit really quickly. And for that reason, you should diversify your revenue stream. And even if you're in an agency like, mine or Eric's, like Eric, you have an agency. What services do you provide?
Let's see, paid media, there's SEO, conversion rate optimization, etc.
And do you have clients who pay you for all of those services?
No, it's diversified. So yeah, there's a chunk that goes, let's say 50, 60% goes to paid, maybe another 20%, 30% goes to SEO, and the rest is miscellaneous.
Exactly. So even in your business, you can have multiple revenue streams. Like if you're a LegalZoom, you can charge people for setting up their corporation. You could also charge them for renewing their corporation. You could also charge them for adjusting their corporation or dissolving any corporation. You can also charge them for getting your website up, because once you set up your company, you probably need a domain name, a website. There's many different revenue opportunities, and that's how you should think about your business once you start generating some income. I do think, and would curious to hear your thoughts on this, Eric, but I don't think you should diversify your revenue stream if you're making very little to no money. At first, you just need to get going with something.
Yeah, a mutual friend of ours, Andrew Wilkinson, who runs Tiny Capital now, he actually started with an agency, MetaLab, and we talked about this on the Leveling Up podcast a couple of weeks ago. And I like the way he breaks it down. If you think about it, the agency is a great business, or let's say it's a drop shipping type business. These are great launchpad or starter businesses to go with. And once you get it going, then you should think about diversifying. So when I say get it going, you feel you're pretty good. Maybe you're generating, a healthy lifestyle for yourself. Maybe you're taking home 100 or 200,000 a year where you can cover your expenses. Then you should think about diversifying. Because the other thing I'm recalling right now is I think about my friends in the restaurant business, and some of them right now, I see them complaining on social media, and they're not able to do anything right now. And even if they make adjustments, they put all their eggs into that one basket. And I think it's really important, once you get one thing working, you take care of your own expenses, you start to think about other revenue sources. So when something like this happens, we're talking about the economy right now, you feel insulated and you can be patient with the way you make decisions. Because if things start to, like, shit hits the fan on one thing, you're going to be in panic mode the entire time and you can't make sound decisions.
No, totally agree. So look, right now, whatever you're doing, start thinking about ways you can diversify your revenue stream. And when you think about diversifying your revenue stream, what I want you to do is think about other very similar line items in which, what can your existing customers or current customers also buy from you, versus what new customers do you have to attract to buy something new. You ideally want stuff that your existing customer base can buy, because that allows you to grow faster.
Yeah. The final thing I'll add is, look, one step at a time. I think it's too easy to compare yourselves to the billionaires or, the decamillionaires out there. And it's just, look at your journey. It's one step at a time. Once you get yourself taken care of, then you can start to think about other revenue sources. Don't try to do too many things at once. Neil's guilty of that. I've been guilty of that. Sometimes we're still guilty of that, but control what you can control, take it one step at a time. And I'm not saying be lazy, be kind of short-term, have urgency, but long-term, just understand that it's important to be patient, because a lot of people, they can't take the pain and they can't wait that long. So yeah, diversify your revenue, but there's an asterisk next to this. Feel free to listen to this episode when the timing is right for you. I think it's a very evergreen episode. Before we go, text us. Someone complains. I'm going to read this number slowly. 310-349-3785. 310-349-3785. Text us. We're actually responding to this, and we're probably going to do another episode on. I actually haven't shared the numbers with Neil yet, but the open rates are great. The reply rates are great. On this community.com. So anyway, that's it for today, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. All right, Joan, what are you eating? Tell us what you're eating. YouTube, we got a lot of comments. It's probably coming from your YouTube, Neil. Ready?
Let's do it.
All right, here we go. Welcome to another episode of Marketing School. I'm Eric Sue.
And I'm Neil Patel.
And today we are going to talk about what you should copy from Neil Patel in business. So this episode is going to be fun for Neil, especially because he doesn't have to do anything. Because I am going to be the one. Neil and I we've known each other for, was it 8 years now? 9 years.
No, dude, right? I think we've known each other for at least 10 years.
No, I don't think so. Because I'm 25 or 26 years old, 25 years old. So it's been 9 years.
9 years. All right. That's a long time.
Coming up on 10. That's so fast. But I feel like it's just been yesterday, where it was just yesterday where I was reading Neil's old blog, Quick Sprout, and he would just write things that sometimes I wouldn't understand, and I would email him and he would actually respond. And I'm like, why does this guy respond to me? So now I was like, I'm going to take advantage. And so I kept emailing him, and eventually he's just like, dude, let's just get on the phone. And we talked for like 20 minutes or so. And that's how our friendship started. And eventually that led to us meeting at Taco Bell in Orange County. And it was a blooming friendship in the last 9 years or so. Really love what Neil has done. I mean, he's always supported me. I've always tried to help as much as I can, but I'm going to share a couple things that I've observed over the years that I think that are worth copying. So the number one thing that you should copy from Neil is his fast execution. So Neil and I will be the first ones to say that we're not the best marketers in the world. I think at a certain point, there are going to be people that will overtake you. But in terms of execution, Neil and I might talk on the phone, and the next day, or maybe in the next 5 minutes or 10 minutes, he's already on it. He has his team on it. So I might say, hey, this optimization, the numbers are really good. Boom, he's on it, right? He's not afraid to jump on it quickly, and he's not afraid to test these things, especially if you give him numbers, he's going to test it, right? If you just come up with conjecture without much to back it up, probably not going to test it. But fast execution, I think Neil probably is one of the fastest executors that I know. So I think that's really important. It's just getting things done and iterating quickly. And a lot of people are unable to do that. So that's the first thing. The second thing I've noticed with Neil over the last 9 years is that if he's not going to wait to set up a call. He's just going to call you. So if he wants to get something done, he's going to call you, just because it's faster that way. And that actually ties in with fast execution. Most people they're very, they'll ask you, and then there's like their scheduling and everything. And then there's all this back and forth. With Neil, he just picks up the phone and he goes. And he's usually like, hey, what's this person's number? Or he'll just call me straight up. It doesn't matter what time it is. And we'll just talk. So I think that's important as well. That ties in with fast execution. The third thing is, if you think about a lot of whatever's being created around you, it's really iterations. So a lot of things are not that much innovative. It's people building on the shoulders of giants, right? So you don't necessarily need to come up with something from scratch. And the third thing here is that you don't necessarily need to reinvent the wheel. Neil doesn't need to reinvent the wheel. He bought Ubersuggest and he just made it better. He iterated on it. There's a lot of things that he's done where he didn't necessarily come up with something from scratch, and some that he has, but a lot of the things is just like, hey, who's doing something, interesting? How can I tweak that and how can I make it better? And boom, he just executes on that quickly. So that's the third thing. The fourth thing is Neil zigs where other people zag, and some things might not necessarily work out, but he's going to try it. So for example, some tests that he runs, like let's say he ran an Instagram test and his Instagram just grew really quickly. Or sometimes he might test something where he was for a period of time, he was running paid ads on Facebook to get more likes. And that worked out initially, but long-term that didn't work out. But he was willing to do that, right? He's willing to take shots that other people aren't willing to take. And you have to be willing to do that if you want to be good at business. I think that's the fourth thing. And we're working towards wrapping up. The fifth thing over here is that Neil does a pretty good job of ignoring the noise. So good, in fact, that he just does whatever he does. And he's not necessarily, he's going to learn from other people. But he has learned to tune in. The signal that he gets from other people is from other people that are extremely successful. So for him, it's not so much about reading as much as it is to talking to other people that are very successful at business, right? That's all he pays attention to. If he sees good numbers, boom, he's going to do it. Sixth thing, this is important. I think I'm the counter example of this. Neil will cut things quickly. He'll give up quickly. So if a person doesn't work out, he's going to cut him quickly. He's also going to give up quickly if a test doesn't work too. It's like, boom, I tried it, didn't work. He's very fast at cutting on either whether it's projects or whether it's people. And then the final thing I'll say is, I think over the last 9 years, I've learned this about Neil. Neil's actually evolved. Before, I would argue, Neil, feel free to push back on this. You were not willing as much to pay the big bucks for senior talent. I think that's changed in recent years. You are willing to shell out the big bucks and you're willing to get out of the way now. I think it wasn't like that before, correct?
That is correct. Yeah.
All right. Final thing from my side is Neil has learned to not try to do everything. He's learned to focus on what he's world class at. In fact, his team has even told him too, he just focuses on bringing traffic, and that's what he's world class at. So Neil, do you want to add anything else before I close out?
No, that's it. Thank you for the kind words.
Yeah, thank you. So that is it for today, guys. Feel free to give us, I'm going to change the CTA on this one. Go to marketingschool.io/live. That's LIVE to learn about our virtual and live events. There's something for everybody. Go check it out. Fill out an application. If it looks like it's a good fit, Neil and I, we might even give you a call as well. So that is it for today, and we will see you tomorrow. All right. Ready?
I'm ready.
Here we go. Welcome to another episode of Marketing School. I'm Eric Siu.
And I'm Neil Patel.
And today we're going to talk about what you should copy from Eric Siu in business. So this episode is going to be fun because I don't need to lift a finger.
So I've known Eric for 9 years, and I learned that in the previous episode because Eric, we were debating how long we've known each other. And I've had the great honor of not just knowing him from a business aspect, but also on a personal friendship aspect. And he's known me for a very long time before, I even met my wife, before I even got married, before I had a kid. When we first met, I was even living with my parents, I believe, at that time. So I've known him for a very, very long time. And I want to go over some of the things that I've learned from Eric over the last 9 years that I think he does exceptionally well. The first thing I have to say that I really admire about Eric is he's always learning. And I don't mean, everyone says they're always open to new suggestions, new ideas. Eric's not just open to new ideas and suggestions. He's the one who's reading books constantly. He's trying to find out, all right, who came out with what strategy, what principle, life biography. Let me read and learn from them. In addition to that, he's like, let me go interview other entrepreneurs and founders, create a podcast so I can even learn even more. So that way I can improve my knowledge, my skill set, my business faster as well. And he puts so much emphasis on knowledge. I really do believe it's helped him get to where he is today. And that's allowed him to succeed when others weren't in that environment. And that brings me to the second point. The second point is Eric is relentless. So for example, he ended up working at this agency called Single Grain as a partner. It didn't end up working out. He ended up buying out the founders for, I think, 6 figures or pennies on the dollar at that
$2 out of pocket, and then $6 figures overall. Yeah.
Rest from the company revenue. And I told Eric he was crazy at that time. I don't know if you remember that.
I remember you said there's no brand equity and I should get out.
Yeah. And what did Eric do? He not only proved me wrong, he proved many other people wrong. He built up the brand of Single Grain. He grew the revenue, and now it's a thriving business that makes millions a year. And if Eric gave up, he wouldn't have that income source. And it wasn't as easy as him just taking over the business and miraculously it was going to do well. He joined networks like Entrepreneurs Organization, kept learning more, right? And that speaks to the first point that I made. And from all this learning and networking with entrepreneurs, he was able to not only grow Single Grain, but he was also able to leverage some of those connections and get customers from that as well. The third thing that I admire about Eric that I've learned from him is be more patient with people. See, I was always a big believer that you just hire people, they should be able to do what you expect them from day one, and you're good to go. Eric has this philosophy, and his philosophy scales much better because if you're trying to build a big business, there's no way you can hire all the people you need and have them do the job perfectly from day one. There's a lot of training involved. And Eric will take the time to train his team or send them to conferences or get them the mentorship. For example, he would go to Gary Vee's team and have pay for some hours for his social media team and video crew to learn from Gary's team so that way they can do a better job. And when they screw up, he's there to help them understand how they messed up, and he even helps them come up with solutions on how they can fix this in the future. And he just doesn't come up with the solution on his own. He works with his team, see what they have to offer, and then he'll give them feedback and work with them so they can continually get better and better over time. The fourth thing that I've learned from Eric is, look, when you see opportunities of making revenue, you shouldn't give up on them, especially if you really believe in them, and you should push hard, even if you have business partners that disagree with you. So I'll give you examples of this. Sometimes Eric will come to me with ideas, and right away I'll say no. And I'm a little bit stubborn when I shouldn't be. Or sometimes he'll say, hey, here's what X, Y, and Z are doing with their podcasts, their events. Here's how they grew their revenue. Let's test this out. And even if I don't like the idea, Eric's really good at positioning and communicating with business partners on, hey, look, before you say yes or no, let me just throw up a test. It doesn't take any time. I'll do it, or my team will do it, and let's just see what happens and then go from there. In essence, he's willing to try more new things than me. And I think that's very, very important, especially when you're starting out. And ideally, even as you grow and grow and get bigger and bigger in size, you should still have that mindset, because if you don't have that mindset, eventually someone else will come by and take you over. Um, the next thing that I really admire about Eric that I've learned from him in business is always continually build your network. You know, I have this model in which you just sit down, like I'm at home right now, focus, go do my thing, and that's it. And Eric's a big believer in networking, and it shows. Look at the value of his network. Not only has he gotten business from it, but it's also taught him a lot of things. He's learned a lot about WordPress and scaling traffic from people like Syed from WP Beginner. He's learned about business and concepts from Yaniv from Nextiva. The amount of people that he's learned from is just, tremendous. And because of him, we also have the marketing school mastermind. And in there, not only is he learning, I'm also learning a lot too, because we have a amazing group of people. And funny enough, I can keep going on and on, but we'll end at that note. And if you also want to join our mastermind, go to marketingschool.io/live, and make sure you check out Eric's Instagram out of everything. I believe it's Eric Osu is your Instagram handle.
That's correct.
And the reason I say his Instagram handle out of everything, I get a lot of knowledge from his stories. He posts on his wall. It's great. But what I really love is his stories. Sometimes he'll post some stats about the web or trends on where things are going. So I like that, because for me, I'm getting a ton of bite-sized knowledge. His posts are also great. He has a lot of amazing social profiles and content all over the web, but I definitely recommend checking out his stories. It's one of my best places to consume his content, or my favorite more so.
All right. All these nice things. We should just do every episode like this. But thanks, everyone, and we'll see you tomorrow. Yeah, that'd be funny. What if every episode was just us patting each other on the back? All right. It's time for questions. Let's see. So let's start with Joan is eating a tuna salad. I love tuna salads, by the way. So let's start with, I think there was a long question. Oh, okay. Let's go with Linda. I believe it's Linda Weller. What is the most important issue that e-commerce companies like Shopify or WordPress site owners like cart abandonment, customer service issues, or scaling up are facing right now? And how can we as marketers meet their needs and bring value to their businesses?
So what issue are pretty much e-commerce sites facing right now?
Yeah.
I think the biggest issue they're having is how to scale up through ads. Yes, there's SEO, there's content marketing. Most e-commerce sites want to figure out how to scale up with ads. And as marketers, we got to teach them how to drive more conversions and how to add in upsells and downsells, because without those two things, it makes it really hard to pay for acquisition, just because all these big companies are spending an arm and a leg. Just look at Facebook and Google's recent earnings; they're all crushing it.
Okay. Let's see what else we got. Michael is facing difficulties getting clients. I just launched my digital marketing agency. So Mike, I think one model that works really well, and you can feel free to check out, I actually have a free video on this. Go to singlegrain.com/agency-accelerator. But if you want to get clients right now, one model is, yes, you can definitely you can run ads. It just depends on the space that you're in, but you can run ads to an application, and it's going to take more than just this answer. But you can run ads literally to a page where you have a video on it. You can use a tool like Unbounce, and you can put a video there, and then at the end of it, you can have a button that goes to like a Calendly or like a schedule once, and they can book a call with you. That's a really easy way to get appointments, depending on the industry that you're in and depending on the services that you offer. That's one way. The other way is just hand-to-hand combat. I think reaching out to people cold and just say, hey, look, I found these 3 things that are wrong with your website right now, or whatever it is that you do. And then they'll be like, oh, okay, interesting. It's like, hey, like, would you like me to just do it for you? You could even offer to do it for free if you're just starting out. That's how I started. I just did a lot of work for free. Neil?
You can also use Crunchbase or sites like PitchBook, see who's recently funded, hit them up, show them all the stuff that they're doing wrong, and some of them will hire you. Just send them PDFs of all the changes to make. Like literally give it away, and a portion of them will hire you because they just raised money and they want to burn it fast.
Yep. And Abir is asking, he's very persistent on YouTube. Neil, why is it that if you're so good at SEO, why do you have so few people watching the video right now? Let me start first, and you can take it. I think it's, every channel, it's some channels who might be starting out from scratch. Some channels are not as strong as the other ones, but they're getting stronger. I think the key thing is that we're constantly providing value across the board. And given you're coming from Neil's channel right now, but it just takes time to grow, and then it compounds. But I think 700,000 or so subscribers is not so bad. Neil?
Yeah, and I don't know what the live count is, but it's probably low. 2 things. One is it's a holiday in parts of the world in Asia right now, and I have a huge, massive following on YouTube in India and Pakistan, and it is a holiday in some of those regions for certain religions. And then the second thing is it's bad timing. So my ideal time to post a video, if you look at what I do, is I post 7 a.m. And the reason I do 7 a.m. is that's when the majority of my users are online on YouTube. And we're filming this as 10:36 a.m. And then the third thing is I didn't promote it. So if I promote it ahead of time, that would have helped as well.
Perfect. There's a lot of good questions. Chris, Pawan, Brenda, we're gonna get to you in the next round. These are really good. I might even just add these to the official topics. And we're gonna go on to the next 3. All right, ready?
Go for it.
Do you have the link pulled up, Neil? You're gonna need the link for this one.
I have it pulled up now.
All right, here we go. Let me make sure I have it pulled up too. This is your first time looking at it too, so
Yeah,
I'll introduce it first. All right, here we go. Welcome to another episode of Marketing School. I'm Eric Su.
And I'm Neil Patel.
And today we are going to talk about how to improve your customer experience using surveys. And what we're going to do with this episode is we're going to give you a live example of we basically send an annual or biannual survey to our marketing school audience, just to get a sense of who our audience is, what they're looking for, and then also to shoot some ideas at them. So Neil has it open right now as well. But what we did, just to give you an idea, is we used a Survey Monkey. You can use Typeform, but we had a whole host of questions that we sent to people. And we just wanted to give you a highlight of, example of some questions you can use to improve the customer experience. Because if you're not surveying, if you're not asking questions, if you're not getting feedback, you can't get better, right? This is why I think it's good that Neil and we both like the negative feedback more than the positive. And we don't really get much from the positive. I think that's fairly rare because a lot of people need positive reinforcement, but that's just how we are. And, there's some really good stuff in the survey that we got. So Neil, you want to start?
Yeah, so we've learned quite a bit. I'm looking at this for the very first time, and I'm seeing summaries. Like one thing that was really interesting that stuck out on me, because we run paid ads every once in a while. And one of the questions is how old are you? And a good portion of our audience, roughly 40+%, are over the age of 46. And I know my team loves running ads to the group around 25 to 40, which based on the podcast is roughly 50% chunk of the audience. But still, that older demographic has a lot of money. A lot of them have done business, are established in their careers, and they can probably spend more than the younger audience. That was really interesting to me. The other thing to note too is there's a lot more CEOs who listen to our podcast than marketers. And that'll probably tell us, all right, when we're giving tactics, how do we make it actionable for people who don't know how to code, who aren't the ones in the day-to-day or don't have 40 hours a week to spend on marketing?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of things here that were so some are expected, right? So we say, in terms of the world of business, what's your favorite topic? So, 51% of people picked marketing, but 21% picked entrepreneurship and 18% picked strategy. So now we at least have an indication that, hey, maybe we can talk a little more about entrepreneurship and strategy, because most of the time we're talking about marketing and maybe a little bit of business. That's one thing. The second thing is we got a little more specific there, and we're like, hey, like in the world of marketing, what is your favorite topic? So this is no surprise. 34% of people say SEO, and then 34% of say they actually say content marketing. So about 70% or so, which is, I guess it makes sense because Neil and I, for better or worse. By the way, this happened again, Neil. When I was at a dinner last week, I was like, SEO. It's like, yeah, Eric's the SEO. It's just like I guess that's just what we're known for. Final thing, actually not final thing, but one more thing I'm going to add before I kick it back to you, Neil, is we ask a product market fit question. So this comes from the tech world, but we want to know if we have a fit with our audience where it's like they can't live without the podcast. So we basically ask this question: what would you feel if marketing school no longer existed? So 66% of people said they would feel very disappointed, and then 24% would be somewhat disappointed. What you're looking for here, and then 9% said not disappointed. But what you're looking for here is that the very disappointed number, that should be above 40%. And this number actually came from I think it was Sean Ellis that came up with this, but a lot of people started using it. And I think it's good to know that we're above 40%, because if not, then we know we have some serious problems and we have a lot to improve on. So it's good to ask this question every year to kind of see where you're at with your audience. Neil?
The other thing too is by surveying, you can improve the experience because you can give people what they want. It really is that simple. Like as Eric mentioned, when we surveyed our answers and find out what they want from us, of course they mentioned SEO, but they also mentioned email marketing, which is really high up. Content marketing had the same amount of votes as SEO. Conversion rate optimization was number 4, and it was pretty good, almost half the votes as SEO. Email marketing was roughly half there as well. So it just shows you what you think your audience wants, what you think they're looking for may not really be it. And if you can really give it to them by understanding all these things, you're going to be in a much better position. So just don't assume you know everything about your audience, because your audience is probably not going to be you. And it changes over time too. So even if you survey them, you get all this feedback. You need to do what Eric is constantly doing, what we're doing on Mind as well, in which you always want to survey because things change over time. And as they change, you want to adapt to them.
Cool. So working towards wrapping up on my side, we did ask this question, and probably should have asked this earlier because we do the survey, but I don't think we asked this question with specific answers in the past. But how could marketing school improve for you? So you think about your product or your service, how could it improve for you? And then you might have some options for them, or you give them an open form field, other, please specify. So what's fascinating is, to me, 27% of people, actually, this is not that fascinating. 28% of people said they want more topic specific episodes. So us covering, it could be SEO, email marketing, whatever, but maybe we theme a week, maybe every 3 or 5 episodes, it centers around one topic. That could be interesting. 12% of people said bring guests on. Interestingly enough, we are bringing guests on. We're not going to have that many slots, but if you're interested in being a marketing school guest, you can go to marketing.school.io/guest. Just a heads up to you that we only have a couple of slots, and there is a fee tied to it as well. And then the final thing I'll say on this one is 18% of people would prefer longer episodes. That's interesting feedback. I don't think we're necessarily going to do it because I think this format has worked well for us. Obviously we can debate on it. And then 2 more things from my side. this is interesting. If we were to put some of the show or bonus episodes into a paid subscription format, would you pay for it? Right? 70% of people said maybe. To me, that means a no. That is, I think we have to make it an irresistible offer. But 20% said no, and then it wasn't like a yeah, let's do it, right? It wasn't crazy. But here's the other thing. This is what I was talking with you about, Neil. How interested would you be in a weekly marketer newsletter featuring marketing analysis and strategies? You got 63% of people saying very interested, 36% of people saying somewhat interested. So that covers 100%. 0% of people said not interested at all. Neil?
Yeah, I don't have anything else really to add, in which you just do these surveys, learn from them. You can jack some of the questions that we're asking and adjust them to your business, or use them straight up the same way, and see what your audience and users tell you, and adjust your product, your service, your website to match their expectations, and you'll have a bigger business.
And always at the very end, guys, always ask this question. Uh, is there anything else you'd like to add? Keep it open, and then you'll get some gold that comes from that. And what you're looking for there is you're looking for signal. There's going to be a lot of noise, but the things that keep popping up, that signal that you should probably consider talking about, and then go from there. So, guys, that is it for today. Let us know by texting us, by the way. Let us know by texting us what you'd like to see us do, how you'd like to see us improve, and text us 310 349 3785. Again, it's 310 349 3785. All right. See you guys tomorrow. That's like the days where I used to work at a call center. Let's see. Ready?
I'm ready.
Welcome to another episode of Marketing School. I'm Eric Sue.
And I'm Neil Patel.
And today we're going to talk about why you should not create content daily unless it meets this. What is this?
So the big thing that most people don't know about content is all the algorithms from social media like Facebook to Instagram. It actually hurts you to create content that people don't like, because if you keep pushing out content into your feeds that no one is engaging with, it tells these platforms that your content sucks, your followers don't like it. So then when you push out more content, even if it's good, the likelihood of them seeing it are slim to none, because their algorithms are starting to not push stuff to them because they've already told them that they're not interested. And the same goes with SEO. If you write a ton of mediocre content, then Google's not going to want to rank it, because there's so many blogs out there, over 1 billion. They might as well rank the stuff people want to read. On your end, unless you can produce high quality content, don't push it on a daily basis. Focus on the quality over quantity.
Yeah. I think directionally, I agree with that. I think what I found interesting recently, looking at, I think it was Gary Vee that said this. So Gary Vee cranks out a ton of content. I think there's different comparisons. I think when you look at a long form blog like Backlinko, for example, that's like high quality. You have to be very deliberate with it. There's a lot of data that goes into it. Long form, again, it takes probably weeks or even months to pump out a really great piece. When I think about social media, this all assumes that you've established a foothold of decent quality content with one channel first, and then you're starting to expand. I think you can start to think about expanding more, because when I think about social media, you don't necessarily need to have the highest caliber of content, because the feeds are just going all the time. So you're better off throwing more at bats and seeing what sticks. And that's kind of the Gary Vee model. He's actually mentioned that you go for decent quality, high output. And if you're like a backlink, super high quality, super well researched, you spend more time, you're more deliberate there. So I think it just depends on what you're doing exactly. So I think, again, when I think about us posting to us repurposing, for example, this recording that we're doing right now, we're live right now, and these videos are going to be chopped up. We're going to throw them onto Repurpose House. So we use repurposehouse.io, and then they're going to be decent chunks, right? Decent quality. And then they're going to find a timestamps that are interesting. And we're just going to throw them up on Instagram or IGTV or YouTube or Twitch or whatever. Probably not Twitch, but like TikTok, for example. And sometimes like the ones that I don't expect to take off, they just take off. So you never really know.
Yeah. One thing to keep in mind, I think Eric and I are pretty much saying the same thing, just in different ways. If you write a really long form blog post like a backlink, or even sometimes what I do on neilpatel.com, there's still no guarantee that it succeeds. It still is a hit or miss approach. Even in content marketing with social media, if you spend a lot of time on a video, it doesn't mean it's going to necessarily do well, or image or anything like that. So in general, when you're doing content, you want to end up putting out content that you genuinely think people will like. When I say don't put out crap content every day, some people just want to take a random picture being like, this looks cool, here's a cloud, right? If your content has no purpose and you're not going to get much engagement, don't put it out. See, with Gary Vee, yes, he's putting out a ton of content, but overall the quality is good. And when I mean quality, I'm not talking about he has to use a professional equipment. It could just be his phone. When I mean the quality is good, in which he's helping people, he's providing value with his content. If you listen to something, it may motivate you, it may inspire you, it may teach you something new. Same with Eric's content. So if you have purpose behind it, the general rule of thumb is it's going to be valuable to someone, whether you create it in 1 minute or you spend a month. And whether you spend 1 minute on something or a month, there's still no guarantee of success. And that's why a lot of us do crank out a lot of content, including me and Eric. But we don't crank out content for the sake of it. We do make sure no matter what we create, no matter how little or long of time we're spending on that content, it's providing value to whoever is watching it, listening to it, or even reading it.
Cool. So that is it for today. Just guys, aim to be helpful, and text us 310-349-3785. Again, it's 310-349-3785. We'll give you special announcements when things are going on. And the cool thing is we can also geo-target where we're sending announcements as well. So when things start back up again, we might even do meetups and things like that. But that is it for today, and we will see you tomorrow. Guys that are watching us on live right now, we are seeing what you're saying, and we do mean to respond. It's not like we're just making our video. Just FYI for you guys, after the next one, we're going to be responding. So let us move on to the next one. Ready? Welcome to another episode of Marketing School. I'm Eric Su.
And I'm Neil Patel.
And today we're going to talk about 5 reasons why your YouTube ads are not converting. So I guess I can start first, but we should talk about the potential of YouTube ads first. A lot of people are using Facebook right now, and Facebook is, in my mind, Facebook ads are simpler to get started. YouTube ads are harder to get started, but they are, in essence, more scalable because you can turn it off and on and you can jack up the budget quickly. Facebook, you can't just say, I want to 10x my budget the next day. So YouTube has a lot of potential. It is the second largest search engine in the world. And the first thing I'll say is when people are making their YouTube ads, they're not thinking about their hook. So the hook is to pattern interrupt. Imagine someone's trying to watch a video right now, but if you can interrupt them and stop them from what they're doing, you've got something great, right? So you got to constantly think about how can you create a great hook, and the hook will stop them, and then you can jump into whatever it is that you're offering and then get them to click and take the next action. So the hook is the first thing I'll say.
Yeah, and the other thing to keep in mind when you're running YouTube ads, and this is a really easy way to get your ads to convert better, most people just look at cold traffic and try to drive them through. One thing that I would test out is remarket your traffic. Everyone who visits the checkout page or buy page but doesn't buy, show them a video of what it's like to be a customer. Use the opposite pitch. So if your pitch on your website was logical, use an emotional pitch in the video, or if it was emotional on your website, use a logical pitch within the video. So you're doing the opposite. And in general, you'll see a lot of sales from that. Out of all the channels, it tends to produce out of all the ad types that I've tested on YouTube, that tends to produce the most ROI.
All right. Number 3 is kind of similar to what I was saying with the hook. That's not it. Just because you create one good hook, it might go away in 2 weeks, 3 weeks. You have to keep going on the hooks. So you have to keep experimenting. If you open Facebook ad library, and I know I'm talking about Facebook right now, but if you look at what Russell Brunson's doing, or you can use a tool like AdBeat to see how people are running on Google Display or YouTube, you can actually see he's cranking out so much new creative all the time. The creative is huge. So just because you're done with one, you have to continue to have a process to experiment more. Otherwise, people get banner blindness, they get sick of your ads quickly, and you have to constantly innovate on that. The creative is the most important thing. And obviously, we're talking about YouTube ads right now, so keep experimenting with your creatives.
Yeah, and then number 4 on my end, if you're going to end up running YouTube ads, you'll also find for a lot of industries, you won't be able to run ads. So what I would recommend doing is collect emails from YouTube. It's a really effective approach. I'm not talking about the webinar stuff. I'm talking about straight up, you can collect emails within your YouTube ad, it's high converting. And then from there, you can sell them over email or webinars.
All right. Last one from my side is check out the book Breakthrough Advertising. You can actually buy it for about $125 online right now. Someone has the rights to that. I was talking to Craig Clemens the other day, and he was like, yeah, someone bought the rights to that. So get that book, Breakthrough Advertising. There's a framework within that book. When you think about the customer journey, there are 5 things that happen. It's people are unaware initially, and then they become problem aware, and then they become aware of your solution, and then they become aware of the deal that you have. So unaware, problem aware, solution aware, your solution aware, and then the deal. And we actually got this from a digital marketer. So use that framework, because the beauty is in a video, you can actually cover all 5 of those things. You can do it fairly quickly and get people from unaware again to be like, oh man, I really need to solve this problem. I want to learn more. And, obviously put a call to action at the end. And that is it for today, everyone. Go to marketingschool.io/live. That's LIVE to learn about our virtual and our live events. It's online, great people speaking. It's every month. And then we have the live stuff too, but amazing founders, amazing executives. And it is a great time. All right. So that is it for today. And we will see you tomorrow. All right. It's question time. Man, YouTube is just really angry. It's like everywhere else is like so positive, but YouTube just Neil, why are you not smiling? I'll let you answer that one.
I'm smiling now.
All right. So a couple questions here. We got Chris Luck. What specific customer acquisition strategy for each of you is currently crushing it? What's crushing it for you, Neil?
For in general, ad strategies, or which strategies?
I'll start. I'll just give like a tactical strategies.
No, is he asking ad strategies or general strategies?
No, just in general. Just so, yeah.
Go for it.
I'll go first. I mean, this is not, I think this has the potential to crush it. Facebook ads obviously crush it for us right now. But I think what has a lot of potential that I keep talking about that not a lot of people do is Twitter ads. Like I just mentioned last time we got, a pretty big company seeing the ad and then them immediately wanting to get on call. Everyone knows this company. And then we got a couple more leads from our Twitter ads too. It's just what I've noticed is that if you are using your own profile, like your personal face, and it's not like a lot of people know me, right? I just use my face and it's more human, and I post something that's native. It could be promoting a tweet storm or promoting a piece of content, but making it seem like an actual tweet instead of an ad. That does really well. And we're going to try to double down on that. So that is starting to crush it.
Another thing that ends up working for me is give away more for free. Ads are so expensive these days. What I found is it's cheaper just to give away more stuff, products, services, ebooks, digital products, whatever it may be for free, especially if it doesn't cost you much, because it's easier to get the traffic that way than it is to pay for ads, from at least what I've been seeing and testing.
Oh my God. One guy on YouTube again. Neil, are you drowsy?
I'm not drowsy, but hopefully I sound all right.
You sound great. Next one, Pawan. Why do you need to optimize your content for search intent? I think we're actually going to save that for a marketing school episode, just because I think that's a great title and you capitalize it for us too. Brenda, Eric, how did you get your first guest for Leveling Up? So I started that podcast 7 years ago. We're actually coming up on 4 years for marketing school, which is nuts. But what I did the first 10, I just reached out to people. I made a list of my top 50 and I got 10 people to respond. So I think I had Rand Fishkin, Pat Flynn, and it took a couple of times for me to reach out. I would recommend using a tool like Mixmax, and also outline, because there's so many podcasts out there right now, outline why your podcast is different, and just make it as easy as possible for them. Because if you think about it right now, if you ask a busy person to get on the podcast, it's so easy to start one right now. So how do you stand out? You got to make your offer so good, and just make sure you're really good at follow up. So again, check out a tool like Mixmax, and from there you keep rolling and just make sure your number one KPI is just getting better. And yeah, that's it.
I think Eric really hit on the persistence end. You're going to get so many people who just ignore you, but if you're persistent enough, it helps. Also, when you email them, like if you talk about, once you get a few guests, and you talk about some of the other guests who have been on the podcast, it does help get more people as well.
Cool. Chris is asking, and then I'm going to jump over to YouTube real quick. How do you do your targeting on Twitter ads? So for me, I'll give you an example. We target a lot of we target SaaS brands, right? So for example, on the single grain side, we work with a lot of SaaS companies. So we'll target Dan Martell, who has a SaaS coaching academy. We target Jason Lemkin. We target SaaStr. We just target those accounts that are kind of well known in SaaS, and that does well. I might target some VCs as well, but I don't need to be super sophisticated with it. It's pretty simple. You just leave it there. So, right, we're gonna cover maybe one or two questions from the YouTube side. Let's see. Aberrant Art, when starting a brand new online service, where would you focus most of your energy? Facebook, LinkedIn, Google, blogging, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram.
I think that varies based on your target audience. So if you're going for B2B, definitely do LinkedIn and Twitter first. If you're going B2C, I think Instagram, Facebook can work really well. If you're going for e-commerce, Snapchat and Instagram work really well. You can also try Facebook too if you're trying to sell stuff online. Like the Home Shopping Network, Facebook has its own version of that where you can go live on Facebook and showcase and demonstrate products and actually have count on how many products you have remaining and start selling like hotcakes. I've seen that work really well and people make a killing from that too.
Cool. Creative arts. If you're looking for best interests on Facebook ads, YouTube ads, I think you're gonna have to test. I think what I would say is there's actually a tool for YouTube where you can find the best channels to advertise on or the best videos to advertise on. You can use a tool called TubeSift. And he's going to be a guest on this podcast, Justin Sardi. And in terms of interests on keywords on the YouTube side of things, some people, I mean, when you get to scale, you can just literally target the keyword money and it does well, right? That's the power. What I would say about these, especially the Googles, the Amazons, the Facebooks of the world right now, is their machine learning is getting stronger. The AI is getting stronger and stronger. So the beauty of that is you're not going to have to do as much anymore, and you just focus on the creative stuff. Neil, what are your thoughts on interest for Facebook ads?
Yeah, it's the same. You're gonna have to end up testing it out. The best thing that I end up seeing with Facebook ads, even YouTube and some of these other channels, once you know who is your ideal customer and you have some customers, you just start saying, here are my customer types, and they will go and learn and figure out what are your ideal customers and what interests do they like and how to target them. Because the problem with interests is a lot of them are vague. Like if I look at some of my interests on my neilpatel.com site, one of the biggest audiences is actually gamers. But if I go out there and I target people who are interested in gaming, even though I'm talking about marketing and entrepreneurship, my conversion rates are pitiful and I would lose a ton of money.
Dude, give me that audience. I need that audience.
All right.
So let's see. James Fan, I like your question. We're actually going to save it for a future marketing school episode. And then for the rest of you, we're going to do a couple more episodes and then we're going to answer more questions. So hopefully that has made some of you happy. All right. Ready?
Let's do it.
All right. Here we go. Welcome to another episode of Marketing School. I'm Eric Sue.
And I'm Neil Patel.
And today we are going to talk about the quickest, easiest way to boost email open rates.
All right. So I only have one tip that works really well. Technically, I have a few tips, but I have a really simple tip that'll just boost your email open rates. You want to know what it is?
What is it?
You ask a question within your email and you'll be like, how's this going to boost my open rates? When you ask a question in your email, you're going to get a ton of responses, especially if it's a yes or no question. A lot of people will start seeing your email, or email providers will start seeing you as someone that they trust, they have conversations with. So then your emails will start going into the inbox. So then whatever future emails you send, they're much more likely to be in the inbox over the promotions tab or the spam tab. And your open rates will go through the roof because they're in the inbox versus not in the inbox. Now, there, of course, are many tips that you can do on copy to increase your open rates. But if you can't get your placement into the inbox, your open rates are going to be crap no matter what copy you use. And that's why I started with that tip.
Yeah, and that works really well. We've talked about the 9-word email from Dean Jackson. It's just where you ask, hey, Neil, are you still interested in buying a $100 million yacht? Maybe not the $100 million, but are you still, let's say you opted into a list. And then every quarter, so I might ask Neil if he's interested in a yacht. He's probably not ever going to be, unless it's for tax purposes, maybe. but you ask that question. The point is, you are basically it's the same thing. You're getting people to engage. And this is so effective in fact that recently for our we're calling it consulting school now, but for the consulting school program, we previously were sending people, we said, hey, if you're interested, you can book a call, and then we just give them the schedule once link. But now what we do is we have a copywriter that writes good copy that takes that's influenced by my YouTube videos or my tweets or whatever, and there'll be an email. But at the very end, it's like, hey, type reply if interested, and that works really well. The response rates are way higher. The click rates are way better. And the beauty of this is, I mean, I think just yesterday, that led to just from one email, it led to a $10,000 sale, because someone responded, and then we sent them afterwards. We sent them the link, and good for email deliverability, right? But also good for engaging with people and getting sales.
Yeah, and then the other thing that you can end up doing is there's simple tricks like adding their first name into the subject line, short and point, asking questions. Lowercase subject lines tend to produce more open rates because it looks like a friend's writing it to you, versus then something that's all capitalized and proper. So those are some quick tips too to boost your open rates.
All right, so that is it for today, guys. If you're enjoying this, if you're watching this right now, take a picture of us, tag us on social, and then we might even reshare it. Neil and I, we actually do that. So do it on Instagram, do it on Twitter or whatever. Do that, and then go to marketingschool.io/live. That's LIVE to learn about our virtual and our live events. Live events, obviously, we're going to be there. Maybe see us in person. It'll be great. Anyway, that is it for today, and we will see you tomorrow. Two more and then questions.
We're on the Coca-Cola one.
Oh, we are. We did this one already, I think, right? The Unorthodox 3119.
Why you need options? I'll change the title around.
I'll do Coca-Cola. Here we go. Welcome to another episode of Marketing School. I'm Eric Su.
And I'm Neil Patel.
And today we are going to talk about how you can build a recognizable brand like Coca-Cola.
So if you think about Coca-Cola, what do you think? And everyone has their own concept of it. You could think about the drink, how it's amazing. You can think about the warm polar bear. You can think about all the companies they own. You can think about Berkshire Hathaway. And, I believe they own a good amount of Coca-Cola. There's a lot of different things that you can think about when you look at the brand Coca-Cola. But if you want to build something that's recognizable, whether it's Coke, Amex, Nike, BMW, Mercedes, the first thing to keep in mind is if you don't have a good product or service, you're not going to have a recognizable and memorable brand. People remember brands like Coca-Cola because they like their products. If people really hated your product, yes, in the short run, they may remember it because they hate it, but in the long run, they're going to forgetting it. So the first thing you need to do is build a good product or service. Brands aren't built overnight. They're built by good products or services that continually improve over time.
Yeah, I remember. I think Coca-Cola was a formula from this was during the Civil War. The guy that came up with it actually got shot during the Civil War. I think he was on the Confederate side, by the way. I don't know how I remember all this, but I think his wound got infected, and I think he ended up dying. And it took years and years and years. It just kept Coca-Cola formula kept moving around. Same thing with the Pepsi formula too. But I think what's important, that I'm digressing with that story, but what is important is distribution channels, right? I think when you're starting out, where are these other people? Where are my customers hanging out? Who has my audience? And I think Coca-Cola has done a really good job of partnering with a lot of these people over time because they become such a good household name. It's a very consistent product over and over and over. They learn how to scale it. But B, beyond that, how do they continue to have strong partnerships, strong distribution channels with these other people so they can remain number one? Because when you go to a store usually, or when I used to, and same with Neil too, you used to ask for a Coke. You didn't ask for a Pepsi. So
yeah. And the next thing you want to do is follow the rule of 7. In marketing, when someone sees or interacts with your brand 7 times, they're much more likely to remember it. So what you want to do is leverage all the social channels out there, all the platforms from your own blog, you going live, creating videos. This will all help with the rule of 7. It gives people more touch points and opportunities to interact with your brand, which is how you create something that's memorable.
Yeah, and the other thing too, speaking of creating something that's memorable, when you think about a brand basically tells you a story. Because when I think about Coca-Cola, I think about the days when I used to go get Happy Meals at McDonald's when I was younger, and I always wanted a Coke. So that brings me back to that. And Neil might have a separate memory, but I think when you think about to Neil's example earlier, when Coke does the polar bear commercials, it's not talking about how great their product is. It's kind of making them feel good. Like it's like, oh, it's so cute. And it's like, did you see that commercial? And it brings you the feels. They're trying to constantly bring back that nostalgic feeling for you. So
Yeah, and last but not least from my end is just do something for a very long time. Big brands aren't built overnight. The Nikes of the world, the Coca-Colas of the world, they've been around forever. Just think about what Eric mentioned about the Civil War and the Coke recipe. If you do something long enough and you have the good products, the good services, you're leveraging the storytelling, you're leveraging the rule of seven in marketing, eventually you'll have something memorable. But it takes time. Microsoft wasn't built overnight. Uber wasn't built overnight. There is no such thing as an overnight success. And usually if it is, it's going to die right back down where it came from, or it's because of negative PR. So just make sure you put your best foot forward and continue to improve and do that for a very long time.
all right, so that is it for today. Guys, if you're interested, we are doing a 12-week boot camp, and the first cohort is going to be taught by yours truly, and this is very experimental. This is actually going to be free, but it's only going to be a cohort of, we're talking 10 to 20 students. We're going to see how it goes, see how the feedback is, and if you want to apply, go to marketingschool.io/bootcamp. As of right now, we're only taking students in the United States. And so, but feel free to apply if you want. It might open up in the future, but go there, marketingschool.io/bootcamp, and we will see you tomorrow.
Shall we do some questions and then get
Yeah,
the last two episodes and then go
let's
back to
do
questions?
let's do some questions. All right. Questions. Let's see. Gaurav again is asking, why are you sad? Neil's not sad, guys. Neil's very happy.
I am
So
happy.
what are the best good free opt-in plugins? I know you. So I guess I'll start. Opt-in Monster is a great plugin that will allow you to collect emails. I don't know if they have a free version, but that's one. What's a free one?
They may have one. Privy for e-commerce.
E-commerce?
That one's good as well. Exit Intel, although I don't know if that's free.
They charge
Oh,
for that.
Sumo, dude. Sumo's free.
I don't. So Noah doesn't talk about Sumo anymore. I don't know what happened. So
It's
I
still
don't know.
around. If you go to sumo.com, it's there.
Yeah, Sumo's free. You can use that.
Yeah. And I believe you can send out emails from Sumo as well for free, at
Yep.
least to a limit.
Cool. Let me click the Q&A over here. Eric Steinberg, who has gone now. Let's see. Bernava, I'm struggling to know where to find the right keywords to research when creating content that people are looking for. I find answertopublic.com is too much info. I think you can use Ubersuggest. Ubersuggest is great for suggesting the right keywords. You can use ClickFlow. There's this. I'm tooting my own horn right now, but ClickFlow will actually suggest the keywords you should be adding when you're creating content. Neil?
You mentioned Ubersuggest. There's Answer the Public you don't like. There's also Google Keyword Planner. Try that out. It's free as well. And it's from Google.
Let's see. Patty is asking, thanks for doing this. I'm using Ubersuggest. Do I still need Yoast SEO and or Write, RYT? I've actually never heard of Write.
Right is German. Marcus Tandler, I believe, is the company. So Yoast is a little bit different. What Yoast does is it's a plugin for your WordPress, and that'll end up adjusting a lot of the changes. But yeah, you can use Yoast and Ubersuggest together. They don't replace each other. They work hand in hand.
Super Overdrive. What's the top 3 SEO ranking factors you guys prioritize? So I'll start first, I guess. User experience is one because it is actually factoring into the algorithm. So if you think about obsessing over the customers, which is the user at the end of the day, I think you're going to be ahead of people that are just trying to optimize for SEO.
And then another one is brand queries. The bigger your brand, you'll find that it's easier to rank. And we talked about ways to build a brand in the last episode. So make sure you follow that with things like the rule of seven, making sure your product or service is amazing, continually improving that. All those little things really help.
Yep. And yeah, I mean, speed is important too. I don't know if I put that in my top 3, but I'm just thinking about user experience again. So speed is actually in the algorithm as well. But overall, I think if you think about, forget about the 3 SEO rank, like we can give you that, but I think if you asked us what's the most important thing, it's how can we be the most helpful with our content, and then how can we be most helpful in terms of the experience overall, and then everything should fall into place. As long as you stay consistent with it, that's kind of the secret to success with marketing or business in general. You just kind of stay consistent.
Should we get some episodes done now? 2 more and then get back to questions?
Let's do that. Felix, productized services are great. Trying to remember who does it well, but if I recall it, I'll let you know when we go back to questions. All right, here we go. Welcome to another episode of Marketing School. I'm Eric Su.
And I'm Neil Patel.
And today we're going to talk about how important it is to have a good logo. So Neil, do you remember the logo for Nike? Do you remember how much it cost initially?
It was like dirt cheap.
Like $100 or something like that back in the day, or maybe even it's either $100 or $7, something like that. But really Pepsi,
yeah.
When Pepsi rebranded, how much was that?
I don't know.
$1 million.
Wow.
Yeah. But anyway, go for it.
The way I think about logos is if you're starting off, don't spend a lot on your logo. I don't think it actually makes that much of a difference. I haven't seen by like changing your logo in most cases that you make an arm and a leg. Now, granted, if you're a Pepsi or a Nike or something like that, you can spend as much as you want on your logo and you have the cash. But when you're starting off, a lot of times I just go use like Canva, make a free logo, slap it up. And then once I get traction, then you can go and adjust your logo. But at the beginning, why spend money on a logo? Like, I don't really think it does much for you. And who says you can't change it? Apple's changed their logo over the years. Microsoft has, IBM has, Pepsi, like they all have. And there's nothing wrong with changing your logo.
Yeah. And look, you can use Canva. It's free. You can use Fiverr if you want to spend a little bit of money on it. You can go to Dribble to find people that are great logo designers if you have a little more to spend. But Neil hit the nail on the head here. The most important thing, when you think about Nike in the early day, the swoosh, they were just starting out. That's why they paid dirt cheap. If you think about Pepsi, I just mentioned it was a rebrand. There's a lot more risk that's tied in with the rebrand. So spending that $1 million, when you think about their market cap, it actually makes sense, because if you screw that up, the risk is too big.
It's like $1 for them anyways.
Yeah, exactly. Relatively speaking, it's kind of the same thing. So
yeah. So in general, I know this is a short episode. If you're starting off, throw out whatever you can. And then from there, as you get bigger, you feel free and adjust your logo. But if you think about it, in most cases, changing your logo, modifying it's not a big deal, and it usually won't make you or lose you money. Like, look, Eric redid the single grain logo. Did it change your revenue or have any impact? Nope. And he's shaking his head for any of you who can't see him live right now. But it didn't. So don't put too much time into it. Just get out there and get going.
All right. That is it for today. Guys, text us 310-349-3785. We give special announcements. Sometimes we even send motivational stuff too. It's great. It's a great time. All right. So text us 310-349-3785, and we will see you tomorrow. Joan, we're going to get to your questions in a little bit after this episode. Are you ready? Oh, we're actually getting to Parwan's. All right, ready. Here we go. Welcome to another episode of Marketing School. I'm Eric Su.
And I'm Neil Patel.
And today we're going to talk about why you should optimize your content for search intent. What do we mean by search intent, Neil?
But so when people search for something, a lot of times there's intent behind it. And what we mean by intent is like someone could be looking to buy a laptop, fix their phone. Those are all intent-based searches. You don't want content that just ranks out there on Google for random things that could just be informational, that don't have any intent behind them, because the moment you lack intent, you'll see tons of traffic that don't convert into leads, sales, or anything like that.
Yeah. So if you think about it, let's just take our agency websites as an example. So, at the higher end of the funnel, what we're basically teaching people, right? Like, what is a marketing funnel? What is digital marketing? What is SEO? And we might bring in a lot of traffic from the top of the funnel. But the intent there is people are just trying to learn. They're trying to educate themselves. They're not necessarily looking to take an action. Now, maybe closer to you have top of the funnel, you have middle of the funnel, and then you have bottom of the funnel. Bottom of the funnel might be top digital marketing agency, right? In that scenario, that person's probably looking for a top digital marketing agency. They want to take an action, right? They're doing research. They're probably further in their research versus like another query. Or if you think about e-commerce, I might be looking for, instead of saying what are the best basketball shoes, I might be looking for top reviewed basketball shoes. So the intent there is different. So you got to think about, like, if you're creating content, you don't just create for top of the funnel, but you got to think about the whole enchilada and think about how things flow so you can drive more conversions that will affect your bottom line.
And from all the types of different keywords that you can go after, ones that have buy related words in there, like buy or cheap or affordable or discount or coupons, they tend to convert well. The other types of keywords that convert well is comparison keywords like MailChimp versus ConvertKit, right? So when people are looking at brand names, and if you have content that describes the differences, there's a lot of intent there, and you could potentially get signups as well. So when you're doing your keyword research, don't just look for what has a lot of traffic. Look for keywords that have high CPC, because the ones that have high CPC tend to convert more visitors into buyers. And also look for keywords that are very specific when it comes to evaluating a product or service or buying. Like Eric mentioned, top X, Y, and Z, or X, Y, and Z brand name review, right? Or competitor one against competitor two. Those are all examples of keywords that have high intent. And when you look at these keywords, whether it's top of funnel, middle of funnel, or bottom of funnel, and I know I've been focusing more on bottom of funnel, you need to make sure that your content goes over all those things. Like if it's reviews, you better have a lot of reviews from other people, whether it's video, text. If it's brand comparisons, you better have a table that outlines what does your brand offer versus the competitors and why people should choose you.
Yeah. The final thing I'll add from my side is use tools like Ubersuggest, and you can basically look at what keywords your competitors are optimizing for. The other thing I'll do too is, and I think Ubersuggest can do this as well. Can you look at their paid ads, what they're bidding on?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So use
Or
Ubersuggest for this,
competitors.
and look at what they're actually bidding on, because what they're bidding on historically, those keywords probably convert well. If they don't have a high volume and they keep bidding on it over an extended time period, that means it's probably working, or they're stupid, which I guess you shouldn't be looking at your competitor if they're stupid, but I assume that they're not stupid. All right. Assume that
Chances
they're
are they're
smart.
not going to burn the money and it not work,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. But then that's your research right there. You don't need to try to figure everything out from scratch. Anything else, Neil?
That's it. Make sure you go to marketingschool.io/live. Eric and I are doing some more virtual events. You should check them out, and hopefully we'll see you there.
All right. That is it for tomorrow. See you guys later. All right, it's question time before we go. So let's start with Joan first, and we'll continue to go down. I see a lot of questions coming in from all the different channels. Joan is saying we're seeing an upswing in COVID cases here in northeastern, I think PA's Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah.
Which is frustrating, anxiety producing, and disappointing. How the hell do we keep our spirits up? Suggestions. How do you keep your enthusiasm level high? Honestly, for me, every day, I think it's just, and Neil can speak to this too. I think to me, success, the definition of success is being able to work on what you want to work on every day. And as long as you're constantly, enjoying the journey, all things considered, that's what everyone says now. I think it's fine. It's you take one step at a time and you put one foot forward. And yeah, I think we all want to get out of this. But chances are we're going to be in this for, a little longer. Neil?
Yeah. And what I would do is just enjoy life for what it is and find the things that make you happy. Like I go on daily walks. And I know there's a lot of people with COVID out there, but walking during times where there's not a ton of people out there wearing a mask, being safe, like little things like that make me happy. And just figure out what those things are for you. And if you're not sure, just try a handful of things that you used to like. And maybe one of them will hit.
Yeah, and the one thing I'll add to that too is I wear this Aura ring, Oura, to go to sleep, and it tracks my HRV. And I don't know how accurate that is, but it's a signal of your level of stress, right? And by the way, I'm not a doctor. This is just what I've read, but I noticed that my HRV was too low, like basically saying like, hey, I was actually getting stressed because I wasn't going out that much. I can actually stay in my apartment for 5 to 7 days without going out, which I think it's kind of nuts, right? But when I finally went outside and I did a staycation, I just picked up an Airbnb somewhere, and being able to walk outside every single day, to Neil's point, it just, you release endorphins. It's great. And I just feel a lot happier. And so my HRV shot right back up. It shot into triple digits after that. So I think it's important to do that. I was actually reading another magazine recently, and these companies, what they do to keep their culture up is, they encourage people to go on walks, to take breaks, to go into nature. Right? I think what you realize is that you don't need to work as hard as you usually do. COVID has kind of proven that you can actually maybe work maybe 75% of the time, as hard as you used to. And that's what a lot of people are saying. Neil, anything else?
Yeah, that's it for my end on the COVID stuff.
All right. Let's see what else we got.
Free email to scrub or free software to scrub your email list. Typically, the solutions you use in your email provider should be the ones scrubbing your list. So like ConvertKit has that built in. I don't know if MailChimp does, but most of the email solutions have that built in.
Cool. Pawan asks, does account-based marketing work for you? Do you do that, Neil?
We do it. It works extremely well, although it works better for B2B. Typically, the only people who I know who use account-based marketing are B2B companies. But it works well for B2B, especially if you're going enterprise and upstream. If you're going more low end, it's a very expensive process that usually doesn't pay out.
Yeah, and the other thing, just so everyone's aware, account-based marketing is basically you not only target a company, but you target a group of people in a company, and then you go for them. Joan asks, is the learning market saturated? Should we continue to try to sell courses and memberships? What's the best way to share one's knowledge and expertise? So, look, we have this marketing school podcast is free, but we also have our virtual mastermind, and then we have our live mastermind. So there's different tiers. I think there's always going to be room for learning, especially you consider the colleges. I think there's gonna be a big reckoning coming, and I think just online education will continue to get stronger and even better. So I just think if you have, there's a negative stigma towards a lot of, I think, internet marketers that have made courses seem bad, because you have people like that are 21 years old trying to sell this life coaching thing when they don't have a lot of experience with life. So there's the whole thing going on. But I think if you truly believe in what you're teaching and what you have to offer, I don't see any reason not to have courses. Neil?
Yeah, they still make money. They still do well. And I think people should consider them. Don't think of it as it's going to be the end all be all for your business and you're going to crush it from it. Just look at it as supplementary income.
Well, there's a good question here. This came at 8:34 a.m. This guy came in early. 1.5 hours before we started. What are the best tools / ways to keep tracking keywords? Is there an enterprise solution for all available schema fields that is scalable for enterprise?
For enterprise, what does Moz have for enterprise? They've acquired a company that does this.
I don't know. I know there's the other one, Bright Edge.
Bright Edge, there's Conductor that also does well. You can start off with those two at enterprise level, but there's one more. I forgot what it was called. Moz acquired a company that does something similar.
Yeah. Super Overdrive. So you're asking about storing HTML pages in Cloudflare cache on Edge servers. If you want to send me a note on that, I can send it to my developer, because we are using Cloudflare Edge for ClickFlow. But Neil, do you know the answer for that?
What's the question?
How long do you set to store HTML pages in Cloudflare cache on their Edge servers?
I don't know. Most of my pages are, my guess is at least a few days if I had a guess, or it changes until, I think my devs have it where the moment the page is updated, it changes it and it does it on there. But if I had a guess, I'm not technical, but if I had a guess, I'm going to say at least a few days.
Here's a question for you, Neil. One guy's asking, how does Neil make money?
I have an ad agency, Neil Patel Digital. That's really it. Speaking fees. I used to do well on that.
Yeah. All right. So Joan asks, when is the time to give up on something that's not working according to plan, whether it's a business or a business idea? How long should we wait? My guess is when it's no longer fun or we've run out of ideas. I've been accused of trying too many new things, but every other week someone in my family or business circle calls me with an idea for another business. I'm entirely committed to my website, journalism, and my content and not ready to give up. But there are days when I wonder if it's time to do something new or more COVID friendly.
I would check out the book from Seth Godin called The Dip. It'll help you understand when you should stick with something and when to quit.
Perfect. I will give that a +1. I think that's simple enough. But I think if it's not,
And
you're
it's a
not having
short
fun
book
with
too.
it.
It's
Yeah.
a really short book.
If you're not having fun, just bounce. I think
Yeah.
like we can always give our opinion, like, but we don't have enough context. So, question here, two more.
And each space is different. Each market size is different. You may be an expert in one space more than the other, but that's why I recommend checking out the book called The Dip Bicep Code.
Shubham, you have YouTube channels. Do you have any tips on getting emails from the viewer? So what I would do is in your comment, pin the top comment, and then put like an opt-in, a really irresistible offer. Put it in your description as well. And then also you can have a call to action at the end of your videos saying, hey, look, go to marketingschool.io/live or something like that. Here's a question. I guess we have time for two more. Is CRM targeting worth it to target already known leads and contacts to drive customer lifetime value?
Is CRM worth it? Is it worth having a
What this
CRM?
person means is it worth laser targeting people in your CRM? Or I
If
don't even
you're
know what CRM
selling
targeting
something,
is.
yeah, if you're selling something big enough and expensive enough, definitely. If you're not, I don't think it's that effective.
Let's see. Does it still work to send long, detailed emails to VC-backed startups when trying to sign them to your agency? How do I know if I'm missing something? Absolutely. I think one thing we suggest is using Crunchbase, or you can use, there's other tools that say when let's say a new CMO is signed to a company or when a company raises money. Those are good times to strike, not just on email, but through LinkedIn as well.
Yep.
Mycon says, Neil, say hello to Brazil.
Hello, Brazil.
All right. Last question. Whoa, 5:46 a.m. What the hell? What are the best books to learn more about the future of SEO? I would not read books. I've read one SEO book in my life. It becomes outdated quickly. I would recommend checking out Moz has a great beginner's guide on SEO. Neil, you have a couple guides as well.
Yeah. Eric got it right, in which there's over 3,200 algorithm changes to Google on an annual basis. Last thing you want to do is read a book, because when you read a book, by then it's going to be outdated.
Cool. All right, everyone. That is it for our 90 minutes. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you guys we both hope you have a great weekend. And we will see you probably in a week or two. All right. See you guys later.